Greetings from a small little town in Australia. I have to admit, I was giggling at the backdrop because I usually live in Bali, so I'm usually a little bit humid and warm and used to different, just everything's different. And so I've got instead like my little broken slide, which I think is like my boyfriend says is like great ambiance. You can see like some of our laundry hanging. A wetsuit shows yes, I am trying to surf. Look, we've got some little surfboards and anyway. And I do appreciate where I am just because of just being able to be in the bush and be in nature with the kangaroos and so many birds and trees. So I haven't really named much and what I wanted to talk today about. I'm just laughing because can you see the axe? I'm not allowed to use it. I'd probably chop myself by accident. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit today about what I'm seeing in the distance healing sessions that I'm giving, and also helpful things we can do for ourselves to create stability. And I actually want to start there. So one thing that's great is that now that we're all at home and kind of confined to our locations, as you know, like everything has just suddenly moved online. And as a result, there's just so much information out there. And I'm talking beyond like the news and other things, but just practices. Like everyone is offering some great practices. And one thing that we can really do for ourselves that can create more stability and dare I say success is picking the anchor points that work for you. One way that my brain functions and has always functioned is that I never really get caught in one system. Somehow I'm able to just like look back at the bigger picture of all the different systems and lineages that are available and really seeing kind of the threads that join them together. Of course, there's going to be differences as well. But you know, right now is the time for our practice. It is the time where the words, the texts of the ancients, the practices of the ancients are going to really be stabilizing. You know, in some ways we could all say that we've been preparing for this as humans for, you know, thousands of years. And for us personally, you know, a lot of us feel like we've been preparing our whole lives. This crow agrees with me. So, you know, really looking at, okay, you know, out of all these online possibilities and, you know, with different teachers, what are the ones that aren't just going to distract me or keep me almost looking backwards to maintain certain patterns, but are really going to bring me back into my connection to power and source and stability. And you'll know it because it just works for you. You know that in the bigger picture is like any practice that brings you back to yourself, that brings you back to your sense of calm and ground, that also brings you back to your sense of inspiration and play, that kind of gives you a way to hold yourself and be held. You'll know that it works. So that's the one thing is like really picking anchor points, you know, whether that's like having a teacher or practice or tradition or something that you're feeding yourself daily, you know, that you're making some sort of commitment. But again, you know, there's 3 billion possibilities right now happening. So it's like pick the one that works for you. And the other thing is knowing that when you go into anxiety or panic or fear, that the very function of that is going to take out any stability or safe place. And so although we're in new territory, you know, our practices of how to manage anxiety still is the same, meaning in my external environment, is there a place that's calm and safe enough that kind of works for my system where I feel like I can even take a moment to settle myself? And can I, in my own body, start to sense those places where I can feel the connection to the ground with my feet, with my pelvis, any part of my body, like touching the ground? Can I start to feel that? And can I start to notice my breath? Because simply even noticing our breath will shift our awareness. Can I start to let my breath slow down and even use my breath to feel? Because sometimes when we're in anxiety and fear, that's more of a mental manipulation. And then you get to go into the realness of the body. And the body kind of can handle anything. Like if you go into the feeling of, okay, these are the textures and sensations. They may not be so pleasant, but I can start to be with them. I'm going to be with them as opposed to hide from them, blame them, or make them into something more than they are. And within that, any way that we get to manage overwhelm is, can I find a place in my body that feels neutral or safe, or dare I say even pleasurable? And that will be a really helpful thing, because anything you place your mind on, it will start to grow, it will start to expand. Another trick too is just doing some physical activity that causes you to focus. I know that yesterday I was like, we were in the car for like 8 hours and I had to go to, I felt like it was fluorescent light day. I felt like I'd been traveling on airplanes with weird air and like weird vibrations, and we had to go into a city, and I had to go get like a health exam, and it was just all like that. And I noticed how exhausted I felt. And I was so glad that we actually had a big pile of dirt that we actually had to put into wheelbarrows and start to, like dig out with our hands and use shovels and rake out. And that in itself just brought me back into my body, So anything that's just causing you to move, but in a more focused way. And especially, I know some of you are like stuck inside, but if we can get any access outside, like, nature's our mother, our medicine, and she's showing us the way. And the other thing is like probably the most important thing right now, because I know it's like we're in new territory, trust yourself. Believe in yourself. There is a flow for you. It may be different from what you expect, but there is a flow for you. Trust yourself. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the energetics of what I've been seeing, and in a big picture way, and it's been interesting because I'm used to doing, I love people. That's how I got into my work, and I already have been giving online mentoring and healing sessions for a long time. But of course, like all of us, like everything's online. And so it's been interesting to see the thread that's been coming up for a lot of people. One, there's been, of course, just grounding, because our systems, understandably, when things are new and we get frightened, we unground. So it's like our whole system has just pulled ourselves out. So that has been like, okay, what do we actually need to come back in more? I could almost say that grounding is also like presence, and we have more power with the more presence that we have. Without knowing it, like our energy can be scattered in different dimensions, different planes, with different people, in future possibilities, in past possibilities. So being able to gather ourselves is really, really essential. The other thing that I've been seeing, which has been very interesting, was the ability, like how much our systems are getting upgrades. Like it's almost like, depending upon the day or like the track of energy that's moving through, like this past full moon has been like pretty full on, like in a cool way. And for those of you who are a little bit more sensitive, might be sensing all the different kinds of energies that are coming through all the time. But almost like getting the system ready to be able to prepped to be able to download these frequencies. And as a result, it's almost like a cleaning out of our systems, like we're cleaning out like the closets and, you know, maybe taking down walls that, you know, we used to have that aren't necessary, or even like putting up different walls or shelves in our system to make things happen. I've even seen like almost like we're building things in different parts of our field to allow more energy to come in. So I would say it's like a support time, refurbishment time, and even in some ways like, I don't want to say demolition time, but like a demolition time and like a preparation to get us to be able to absorb and integrate these new frequencies. So that's been another thing. And this has been, you know, where a lot of dark energy is coming through. And what I mean by that is it's like we get to face our own hells and ghosts that come up. So some of the sessions that I've been giving, there's been some really heavy things emerging just because it's starting to clear out. And I've noticed just even for myself, because I noticed initially I felt this like relief and this expansion and oh my God, and yes, and I'm inspired. And then I hit some really heavy spaces inside, and also watching, I was very intrigued by the kinds of fears that came up for me. And that because I get to work with so many different people, I get to hear all of their fears and seeing where we all have like different kinds of fears, and understanding that we are carrying, you know, the DNA of our ancestors. I think they keep changing, like experts have discovered that, you know, we have like X number of, you know, we've noticed how many lines, like, I don't know, initially it was 14, now it's 18 or 24, but like basically there's a fuckload of history in our system. So, you know, it's not surprising those of us who've gone into hoarding and into like war times, and those of us who are like, I'm gonna get tortured again, and, you know, prisoners of war and concentration camps. I mean, it's been intense. So it's helpful. So I don't know about you, but for me, when I kind of know like, yeah, this stuff's digesting through my system, it's helpful because then you're able to watch what comes through as opposed to react. Like I'm holding space and I'm watching all of this move through me. And it takes a lot. Like we have to have our containers very strong and stable to be able to observe and not react. And so just to know that context, that it's like there's a collective history, there's an ancestral history, and also like the anxieties of mother and father like creeping up into our system. And I've also been quite fascinated to see that it's like all those old wounds just from like me, myself, and I, and like all the ways that my ego is just like angry and separate and like is having that the kind of power that harms. Because when I talk about power in general, I'm talking about love, the power that is God, the power that is oneness, the power that is surrender, the power that is flow, the power that is the field. But of course, we also get to live in this matrix of power that destroys and not for the sake of the good, but like just to dominate and to harm one another and to manipulate and to keep others down. So in a way, we get to look, we're having our own detox of these other frightened, angry little parts of ourselves that are out of integrity, and they are rearing their heads as well. So one of our greatest powers is being able to be the witness to what's happening inside. So I hope some of this helps, and I will be offering some classes online, both movement and meditation and energy work and trainings. And you can always contact me individually as well for any support. And I'm sending you a lot of love from the land of trees and apparently crows today. Bye.